Hey guys, welcome to Honey, We Need to Chat.
Where we believe when communication dies, bad things happen.
Here's a clip from our podcast.
Let's get chatting.
Honey, we need to chat.
What is the topic?
Yeah, well, on that note, the topic of this episode, this chit chat, is mental load, which is a phrase that we discovered, I think it was like last year or the year before.
Sometime recently.
However, it is a concept that has been in our relationship since the beginning. It's just something that I didn't have
the words for it.
The words for it, a structure around it until whenever I discovered it in the last couple years. And then I was like, oh, I saw this reel that was really intriguing. And it was a man that was talking about in his relationship.
Well, he was a psychologist or something, I think.
Maybe, yeah. I can't even remember who it was. I just remember seeing the reel, and he was talking about the mental load within a relationship and the imbalance there, and specifically about grocery shopping, which we'll talk about as we go into the chat. And so I showed Blair this reel because he works with dads and also just for our relationship as well. And then it was like a concept that was introduced to him. And it was really fascinating to kind of realize how much blind spot there is on both sides to this concept, but how prevalent it is in relationships.
Yeah.
So we thought, and we've mentioned it on the podcast before in passing, but we thought it definitely deserved its own chit chat.
Yeah.
So that is why we are here tonight.
And I want to say as well, a lot of the things that we're talking about in this episode, I struggle with. So it's important for me to say that because, again, I don't want to be coming across of like, all right, guys, you need to be doing this, be doing that, whatever else. I actually really struggle with this. And when Amy showed this to me, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, I do that. I hadn't even thought of this before you brought it to my attention. And I've shared it to many guys since then. Yeah. We've even made a webinar about this for my work.
Oh,
and it's so much. And again, the impact has been huge. Again, not everyone's going to agree. That's completely fine. A lot of guys just might not see it. That's completely fine. What we're trying to do in this is encourage the conversation. So women, if you're hearing this episode, we want to encourage you to have this conversation with your partner. And we want to talk about ways in which we can do that, how you start the conversation and so forth, and how we did that, because that's a sensitive thing. And also, guys, be receptive. Like, try and let your barriers down, let your walls down. Just listen and see, and just reflect your way of interacting, your way of communicating, the way that you're trying to show love. Because again, we're going to dive into this soon. And just hear. It's just we really want to encourage you to listen and reflect and talk last. That's something that I really have been wrestling with and trying to grow in, is talk last. I'm a verbal processor, so that's really hard to do, but it actually helps my verbal processing if I listen first, reflect, then talk and process. So I just want to encourage that if that's going to help you guys.
Yeah. And just one last little disclaimer before we dive in. Obviously, this is generalizing, so it's not always men and women that will fall into these categories in this way that we're going to talk about. Generally, this is how it plays out. May not be the case for your situation. So just disclaimer, generalizing a little bit, and just so we don't have to say it the whole way through. That's what we're starting with. Cool. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Guys, we have an exciting update. What's our exciting update?
Patreon!
And Spotify subscription.
Spotify sub!
We have some really great quality, raw, extra content that we are going to be posting on our Patreon and our Spotify subscription. So if you are interested in a little bit more from our episodes, if you get to the end and you're like, I want one more story, now you know. Join in. It's also going to be a place where we will be updating, sending resources, and just keeping our little community growing and extending there. So if you're interested at all, please check it out. We will post about how to sign up. If you have any questions, let us know. Get onto the Patreon. Get onto the Spotify subscription.
Yeah.
Thank you. So to start, I thought it would be great to just kind of even just give a definition of what mental load is. So mental load, I was doing a quick Google. I found it really well worded on a blog. So I've just literally taken it word for word, and I'm going to tell you what the blog was. It was written by Randy Donahue.
Don't know who.
Yep. The definition that she wrote out was mental load is the cognitive and emotional effort used to manage your life and in many cases the lives of others. And everything that I can see about it is it's basically the invisible tasks. So we all know workload, right? We've heard workload as we've grown up and gone into the workforce and that kind of thing. I think even in your family, in your household, it's fairly easy to see the physical, visible tasks in terms of workload. You might have that kind of worked out, how that lies with each partner. But those are visible tasks. The mental load is the invisible tasks that sit on the mind and they tick away and they take a great deal of effort and they actually impact a lot of all the other aspects of your life. But they're hard to kind of express that you can't see them. And so it's real easy for a partner to not be aware of them happening. It's even easy for the person who's got the mental load going on to not really be aware of what's going on because all they know is they're stressed. They wouldn't necessarily have words around it. Mental load is the cognitive and emotional effort used to manage your life and in many cases the lives of others. So mental load could look different for each couple and probably will. But I found a list at healthline.com that was really helpful with just some general ones that might be common. And the first thing that they start with is, does the refrain of just tell me if you need me or let me know if I can help sound familiar? And I thought,
yes,
those are great. Like that, those two things on their own is a really good way of kind of defining what mental load is. So here are some things that might be causing mental load. Having to remind people to pay bills or handle other essential tasks, needing to offer praise or pats on the back for handling necessary chores around the house, like the dishes or things that are just, you need to do them. Keeping track of parenting related daily details like school plans, after school plans, permission slips, library books, due dates, doctor's appointments. Checking in on the kids' physical and emotional needs. Making to-do lists, grocery lists, or chore charts. Purchasing and wrapping gifts for friends and loved ones' birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, etc. Scheduling date nights, vacations, and visits to family or friends. Lacking the time to pursue leisure activities when your partner does have time to pursue leisure activities. Childcare, the presumption that you have the kids when your partner is going to do something, but you having to arrange for your partner to have the kids when you go to do something. Finishing off tasks. So the partner might do most of the task, but then there's a little bit that you have to finish up for them because they haven't completed the task. Using the last of something, so leaving one egg in the egg carton or leaving like a tablespoon of milk in the milk carton and not replacing it or not letting you know that it's almost empty. So you'd have to discover on your own. Another example is leaving only like a few sheets, little squares of toilet paper on the toilet roll. I'm not looking at you.
You did look at me.
I also do it sometimes. And getting the house and the family ready for tasks or the night or when you leave on holidays, those kinds of things. So this is a list of just obviously big bunch of random things. I thought I might dive into a few of these because a few of these already are applicable to us. But the first one I thought maybe is a good one to chat through that we first talked about, which was grocery shopping. That was the first kind of like light bulb. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, because that was what back in the day, the conversation you brought up, and that was your example. And that for me was like, oh man, that's so true. So yeah, grocery shopping. So for example, you would go back in the day, you would go grocery shopping and you've gone through the pantry, you've gone through the fridge, you've looked at what we need. Do we need dishwashing tablets? Do we need whatever else, right? You've done all that, then you go with your list to the shops. And for me, what I was doing was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I want to step up. I'm going to do the groceries because it needs to be done. I want to step up and I don't want to rely on you for everything. So what I would do is say, Amy, what do we need at the shops? I'm going to go shopping. And that right there was the mental load. I was still relying on Amy to put the list together for me so I can go do the thing. And for me, I'm like, I'm doing a great thing here. I am, it's going grocery shopping. I'm doing a good thing. Like I'm doing helpful. A responsible thing. I'm, stepping up to the plate. I'm providing for my family. I'm not relying on Amy, but I was relying on Amy, which is the mental load. There
were times, this is not a big issue, the grocery shopping thing, but I do remember times where you would go grocery shopping and in my head, I'm like, I should be grateful he's grocery shopping, but it still felt like a lot of work. And I never had words to put to it.
Yeah.
I never was like, it feels like it's a lot of work because I am still having to fill out the list, blah, blah, blah. Like I just didn't have it clear in my head. But I was just like, I would feel like a like frustration or a burden or like an irk with it, even though it was something that you're doing nice. And so it'd be very easy. And I think this is what the trap is for couples in general with this, to be like, but he's doing something good. I shouldn't like nag. He's doing something good. Or to even be like, I'm really annoyed and I'm just going to be annoyed. Like you could either go either way, like dismissing them, being like negative, critical, or you could go dismissing yourself and your frustrations because you're like, oh, but they are doing something good. Or he did take the bins out 3 days ago, so I shouldn't have to, that kind of thing. Like it's a real, unless you have a clarity around it, it's easy to kind of get lost in this big mess of confusion of mental load.
So I want to give an example of what we came up with after that. So what could it look like, right? So I have a look and I see what things we need. So I do that myself. I don't rely on Amy, but it's okay for me to come to Amy and say, I'm going down the shops. I'm going to get X, Y, Z. What else do we need? So even though I'm still including Amy in the conversation, it's not putting it all on her. It's like, no, I'm doing all this. Just want to check in. Is there anything else? So that's not a cop-out, and we have to be very careful with that. I'm not just like finding that we need eggs, but not putting anything else on the list and then relying on Amy. Like, no, I'm doing my part. I've done my look. I've done that. But is there anything else that you spot?